This week on The Coach and the Casual, we got my personal fighter and soon-to-be PFL fighter making his debut here in his hometown, Salt Lake City, the one and the only King Julian Ruiz. Or Ruiz. What would you want to pronounce it?
You can say it however. Ruiz.
Ruiz. Have you guys ever seen that clip where Justin Gaethje was
you gotta
like...
finish your intro. You gotta...
No, that was it.
Okay.
That's
you
it.
usually go boom.
I know. I don't want to do it. We just go with it.
I'm so used to that.
Because, you know, it reminds me like Justin Gaethje. One time he was in an interview and the guy was like, Justin Gaethje or said something. And then he's like, it's Gaethje. And the guy's like, I have people for this. I know how to pronounce it. And Justin's like, it's my last name. Like, have you ever seen that one? Yeah. Cracks me up.
I'll be honest, dude. I am a little hurt this week.
Why?
This is my first introduction, really, to how mean the fans can be.
What do you mean?
You even see the comments? They called somebody called it the coach of the mentally challenged.
Oh, you thought that was me?
So hurtful.
Oh, you thought that was me?
They said, why is this guy bragging about 240? It does not look good on him.
That's not me, bro. They're just honest. Honestly, one thing about MMA fans, they're brutal, but they're honest, bro. They are honest as shit.
Honest? Okay, if you were to read a bunch of the comments from some of your fights, you would call it honest?
They were honest.
No, don't say honest.
Yeah, honest.
Man, don't try and hurt me.
Looking back at my fights is disgusting. The way I used to fight, like the way I coach now is so different. And like, if I coached myself and like I see my old fights, I'm like, ugh, ew.
What was some of the most toxicity you received from the fans? Well, I think you have it easier. People don't really recognize you. I've been getting recognized a lot because of the podcast.
Yeah, that's I think some of the most toxic things was like people like it. I don't know. They try to say like the meanest things you can say. Like obviously you go down the racist stuff, but then I don't know, man. I don't really care.
You know what I kind of realized, dude? Is like I also like I'm just a troll online. Like I remember one time I was on TikTok and like I was on the lives and I was just like roasting people on the lives, and then somebody like personally messaged me a screenshot of my LinkedIn and they were like, say sorry, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
Really?
Because they found me.
They found out.
But
one time though, similar thing. I was online trolling this video of. You know, like there's like a homeless dude in a McDonald's eating and people are mad because they kicked him out. And I'm like, he probably smells like shit. Yeah. Like if you're eating there and then people are mad at me, like, how dare you? You're so mean to the houseless. And I'm like, so some dude messaged my work, the gym, and was like, with a picture of my tweet and said, just so you know, one of your employees is blah, blah, blah. And it was me. And I emailed him back and said, nice try.
Yeah, I'm the owner.
Nice try, cock.
How are fans on the local? I mean, Julian, you fight on the local level. You fought for a while now.
Not anymore. Yeah, he's big dogging.
But how are fans on the local level? It's not as easy to be toxic on the local level because you could actually get rolled up on and fought.
I mean, yeah, people, just like you said, everybody's kind of honest and stuff. Like, I had some guy, they put up that little stat about my winning streak the other day, and then some guy's like, 6 fights in 6 years or some stupid shit like that, you know? So, yeah, people just say what the first thing that's on their head and shit. And
you're dealing with some local beefs and things as we've been doing the podcast, Ramsey. Like, do you feel like local level they still keep their mouth shut because you could actually fight them? I've literally had to stop you from fighting people at events.
Yeah, I mean, they all watch the thing, and I'm brutally honest. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people think. They just come up to me in person and I'm not going to bitch slap them. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm sitting there with one of my best friends, Mike, who's a criminal defense lawyer. And he told me as long as I keep my fist open or open
Hand
palm,
open, yeah.
I'm good. So, I mean, and here's the other thing. I love fighting. like I would love, like even if I lost, I would be like, oh man, that was a good ass time. It's just fucking fun, dude. Honestly, scrapping it's a good time. It's hard to get.
Yeah, especially on the local level, though. Yeah, I'm quick to respond to motherfuckers, and just like you say, you can just roll up to somebody. So nowadays,
And then when you
I feel like
responded, though, he was right away like, "I'm sorry, though."
yeah,
Right?
yeah, people say sorry real quick around here.
But online, they don't need to. They're like, "Fuck you, bitch! You'll never find me."
It was like that one time when Paul Felder, he was like, you wouldn't say that to my face. He was like, yeah, I mean, you're a UFC fighter. That's what I'm saying on Twitter.
Yeah. Of course. And then, but on the local, this guy, when he called, said that to you, you messaged him, and then he was like, immediately, like, "I'm sorry, Julian." Like, don't run up, because you'll see him at a fucking event. That's why it's funny. But yeah, honestly, the funniest thing though was like with when we had Caitlin Neal on here, and she said
she roasted herself.
Yeah, she roasted herself first off, and then she made the local beef like us versus Agama.
Yeah.
And then she was like, but then she named all the most badass fighters out of our gym, but then she forgot the one, Julian, literally the most undefeated #1 prospect in the whole state of Utah. And
yeah, neither one of you guys said it either.
Because we only train us, right?
Yeah,
What was our training today like?
It's just me and you.
Hitting pads, bro.
I'm glad you clarified hitting pads because it sounded like just you guys. I don't know.
Well, sometimes we wrestle. I try to hold him down.
Yeah,
this one my back hurts, dude. Wrestling this fucking beast, dude. So if I can't hold you down, no Dagestani, no, for sure no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy is going to be able to do it.
Well, I was there at your last fight at Fierce. Have all your fights been at Fierce?
As a pro, yeah.
Okay, so all been at Fierce have. I'm not gonna roast that card because Partridge will get mad at me again.
Go ahead.
But it was an interesting.
Yeah, see, he hated it more than any.
Interesting locale.
Sorry, Partridge. Partridge is the Fierce promoter, and he
does an incredible job.
He does an incredible job. Puts on the greatest fights. And he isn't sensitive at all about us wrestling.
Doesn't send us any messages about
he's not listening.
Hey, man, stop talking about the high school.
Yeah. I didn't have time to wait. I had to do what I had to do. I just needed to get in there and get some work. So that's why I had to do that fight.
With that fight, so I watched it.
And on a local circus, you don't have choice, man. Like, think about how many fights did you have pull out?
Exactly. That's why, I don't have time to be playing around. I just got to take what I can get, I wanted to fight at another event, but you didn't want me to, so yeah, I fought at high school, so gotta do what I gotta do, gotta listen to coach, so he just tells me where to go and I'll do it.
You don't have to listen to coach. The number of times I didn't listen to Ramsey, it's
I tell you, in my amateur career, some of the biggest mistakes I made was when I didn't listen to my coaches. I thought they were, in the corner telling me I'm down. I thought they were playing, and yeah, I won't do that no more.
Well, I have noticed that personally.
And we actually talked about this last week.
I've noticed this is that a lot of times a fight. So you can maybe talk about your experience, but we've watched it a couple times with guys from the pit who have dropped belts and things just recently, right? Hard to watch, and they're honestly they're the better fighter. Yeah, I felt like a good example is Jordan. Jordan's the better fighter. You could see it when he was in there. But is there something that happens when you're in there that you get hit in the face a couple times, you get mad, and you just shut out what the coach is saying and start going crazy? And how do you pull that back so you can make yourself more coachable?
It just comes with the experience. Like if you, a good example is, I did a jiu-jitsu tournament. Everybody was just so aroused how I could look over and listen to my coaches. When I'm fighting, these guys will call something, I'll do it immediately.
But you also wrestled in high school.
Yeah, I wrestled in high school. So, honestly, I've been under the lights more than 300 times, I'd say, in my life.
Yeah.
So I can play around in there. I can listen really well and still, have a smile on my face and still, be focused on what I'm doing.
Were you a better, wrestler in the match than you were in the room?
No, I was better in the room for sure. I was that kid on the team that all my friends were really good and top dogs. I just did it because of my friends. When I needed to win, I would win for my team. When there was matches that was all right, coach, tell me I'd get made fun of if I lost to this kid. Those types of matches I'd win.
His high school is a legacy high school. They're one of the best schools in the state.
Yeah, they're 3 years in a row winning state championships.
Not even close. They're in the 3As. They just kill everybody.
There's nobody at that high school that I wouldn't beat, just for the record.
Bro, his one time he fought was one buddy, and I was you talking shit. And I started fighting, like we started fighting in the streets, like because we were drinking. And he was a big old boy. I was like, okay, all right, I'm done, bro.
Yeah, he wrestled for Northwestern too.
He was like 200 pounds.
Northwestern Mutual?
No, yeah. Northwestern. You don't even know Northwestern. You don't even know the college wrestling. But so then what made the switch? Because to me, Julian, you're one of the, like, in the room, like, I can see some days you struggle in the room. I'm not saying, like, you're not good in the room, but you don't perform in the room. But on fight night, I think you're one of the best.
Well, that's a misconception is that whenever I'm in the room, I'm doing so much stuff that you guys don't even see before I even get there. I'm so dead tired, and I'm, like, one of those guys that I don't purposely lose in the room a lot, but when I'm in the room, you know, I'm pretty fatigued and pretty tired, and I work harder than most people, you know, so I make it a goal.
And I was kind of saying, too, are you always doing a goal? Like, if you're sparring with someone, you're not just trying to spar them.
That's like these guys, they want to, like, brag about what they're doing to people in sparring and stuff. You know, when I go into sparring, I have a certain mission. When I'm grappling somebody or I go to, like, a room, I have a certain mission with there. You know, I'm an MMA fighter. I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm not a boxer or nothing. You know, everything I think about in my life is to win that next fight. So that's all I'm thinking about when I train. So, yeah, it's pretty focused.
I was actually the opposite. I was always best in I played football, so, you know, a man's sport. And
you look like a football player.
Yeah, that's right. Say it again for them in the back.
Hey, fat boy, get on the line.
You look like a lineman.
But I played,
or a goalie in soccer.
I played offense and defense. But in practice, when I was on defense, I would hear the offense call an audible, and I knew where the ball was going just because I knew the plays. And so I just go stand over where the ball was going, and I'd get all the tackles in practice. But once I got in the game, I didn't know their audibles, and so I get smoked all the time. I was a big-time practice hero.
That happens to a lot of guys.
And we actually have been talking a lot about that, like practice heroes in here, and like why it's not good to be a practice hero. Because if Julian was trying to, like, listen, we have him going a bunch of people, and honestly, he's one of the top kids in the state. So there's nobody that can really push him. And if he was that other guy, like you spar with Clay, it has to be like Clay's the main event of the PFL that night. And they're like training partners, and they're literally the coaches on the side. Okay, that's enough, because, like, you know, it'll get too crazy once you're doing that. But that's the only time to, like, let the dogs out, compared to, like, when we're at the gym, like with him smashing a bunch of people. That's not going to do anyone any good. And if anything, you start to get to that level, like you cheating on the plays made you that level of an athlete. You know what I mean? Like you didn't know how to, like, nap. You know what I mean? And so that's why you see, like, a lot of people, and I think why Julian's a performer compared to, like, a practice hero.
You had a big, when I actually first came into the Utah MMA scene was right at when UFC came here, and it was right when you busted your arm. Talk about the injury and coming back from that injury, because your last fight you looked clean as hell. Looked like there wasn't even a thing on you. What was the reality? Because when I played football, I busted my knee. I was out for the season. It's devastating because it's something I worked for my whole everything. Right, it was so important to me, and having that taken away from me was difficult. It was different in high school because you only get 4 years, and I lost a whole year. I mean, with your career, it's going to be a little bit longer than 4 years. But what was the emotional strain of not being able to do what you're so good at, and how'd you come back from it? What did rehab look like?
I mean, I could talk about that a lot, but I mean, it was definitely rough. It was pretty cool how it happened. Like, the story is, like, Alex Pereira and those guys were in the gym, and Ramsey didn't want me to spar that day because I took 2 days off because of my shoulder before that. He didn't want me to spar, and then it went from me not sparring to me like, I want to show these guys what I got real quick. And then, you know, I sparred with 2 guys, kind of cleaned them up a little bit, and they couldn't take me down. And then Glover Teixeira.
Well, Tejera's right there.
He's like, Chama
loving it. He's like, yes.
Probably one of the greatest moments of my life. Yeah, him screaming Chama as I'm like double hooking somebody to the body and
just
stuff.
Ripping through his whole team, bro.
And then Glover Teixeira grabs this guy Juju and puts his hand on his back. He's like, here, go with him. See if you can take him down.
Who's a giant, bro.
He was like 200 pounds.
I'm like, no. And I come up and I say no.
And I'm going to keep it 100. He wasn't about to take me down either. He put me on the wall. I brought him back up. And I didn't follow my arm beside me. I fell with my arm beside me, not behind me. So there was just so much weight when we fell, like my hand didn't pivot. I went to the side, my body went like this, and my hand just caught there, and it popped twice, and I was able to catch it. And then when I went to sit down, it dislocated. As soon as that happened, I knew I was going to have to get surgery. So, I mean, I did what I had to do. I ate super healthy, and then I got the surgery done. And it was just, I mean, it was definitely one of the lowest parts of my life. You know, I had some other things happen in that meantime, but it was, no, definitely like career defining for sure. You know, you hear about all these guys that get injuries and stuff, but like,
bro, in that same time, his house got shot up, dude.
Yeah, I got 10 rounds in my house for, you know, who knows why. But,
just like a random,
it was a random thing, you know,
like a random like gang initiation
thing.
Because you live in West Valley or what?
No, Glendale.
Glendale. Yeah,
Same thing.
yeah.
Glendale.
What was it like for you then, Ramsey? Is, you know, because it's funny. I just met you that day. He busted like a couple days, and I think you'd already.
And then I walked in, yeah, because he told me he wanted me to meet you, and then I came in, and then I think that was the first day, and then you kicked that bag, or whatever, and then you kicked his shin.
You kicked my shin.
But you'd already been talking up Julian. What's it like for a star fighter to go down like that for you as a coach? I mean,
it has nothing to do with him being. I just felt more bad for him as a human. You know what I mean? Like, I've Carlos Diego Ferreira fight, who just made his miraculous comeback as USADA disappears. I blew out my elbow on that fight, and it's hard, man. And then as a fighter, like, this is your life. It'd be like you're, and it's even more than a life. Like, that's literally your job. You show up every day to the gym. So when that's taken away, you're like, well, what do I do? Well, I can't fight. I can't train. I can't do any of this. And then you kind of have all this extra free time. And we're all a little crazy, I think, if you got to fight. So you're just sitting there and you're sitting there with that free time. Your thoughts are just running wild, and, you know. Yeah,
and I mean, I was in the sales world that time, you know, I was selling insurance, but it was like, even then, like, I still was like coaching people, and that's the only way I could keep myself training is by training other people. But I would just like, there's so many times where I had like sits, and like I had times where I just was supposed to sit there and sell the stuff I was selling, you know, and then people would call me to train them or like ask me to cover classes. I never ever once like said no, you know. I always just kept showing up to the gym. And I just remember one time like, what am I doing? You know, I got a chance to make money. This career's already done this to my life. You know, I'm still giving it what I need. But I just knew deep down it was going to pay off you know, and soon it was going to pay off. Because I know where I'm at. I know where the skill level I'm at. You know, I was already about to get ready to fight for another title there and like run it up. My friend
we're about
Euros,
to fight for the Fierce title.
Yeah, my friend Euros came down, my now friend with the UFC, you know, he came to stay with me. And when he came down, you know, it's when I really knew that was pretty special. You know, it was undefiable. You know, he wasn't going to stay here. He's like, yeah, I can't risk the elevation for the training. And I was like, well, I know there's only a couple of us. Because he's like, who are all you training with? I was like, to be honest, man, I'm like the best one, but there's a couple of us. And he's like, I can't train the elevation for the training. Then after one day of training, you know, I did pretty good against him. You know, he beat me up. We beat each other up a little bit. And then he's like, on the way home, he was kind of quiet. And then he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to stay. You guys are pretty good, man. I was like, thank you, bro.
You know, there's a funny story about Urus. Medic, right? That's his last name?
Medic, yeah.
Medic.
Yeah.
He just had a sick knockout.
But
he's sick with it.
He's a wild man. He just gets wild in there.
I've been a UFC fan since I was in middle school for sure. You know, maybe 8, 9 years old, always watching. And that was my first introduction. I came into your gym that day. I just met you. I came up to shoot the stuff, right? I was with Jess and Diego, I think.
Yeah.
And met you and people at the gym. And then Urus was there, right? And I was like, oh, it's a real UFC fighter.
Yeah.
And like, I was just super excited to have him sign something for me. And it's only now being in this thing, you know, few like 6, 7 months, haven't met all these guys. Like, oh, he's an undercard. I shouldn't have even talked to him. Just kidding.
I hope he goes back and fucks you up. Like, he hears that. Because he's always going to come back.
He was actually cut like the nicest guy ever. He was super nice.
He's super nice, dude.
I know. I didn't want him at first. I was like, I don't really trust people, you know, kind of my house and stuff. I didn't know what kind of dude you're going to bring over. But then he was super nice, dude.
Super respectful.
Yeah,
like,
super nice guy.
Fucking.
When I told him about
he might be a main card now. He just had 2.
Yeah, if he goes to that main
he
card, then...
Tim, what's his name?
He lost to that caveman looking dude from Alpha Male. I think he's Mongolian or something. You know what I'm talking about? He lost to him and the rest, but then since then he just slept 2 dudes, man.
Oh no, he's a super nice guy.
Right?
Yeah, he did sleep 2 people.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I think he earned his spot on the main card now.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of main card, so you just signed with the PFL. You were just talking off camera, so you. Not on main card, but it's a major organization, right?
Yeah.
what's it? Is it? I mean, it's got to be a little bit scary. I mean, it's a completely different level, right?
Not really. I mean, I've been training with higher level guys for a minute. You know, this guy that I'm fighting, he's got more fights than me and stuff. But the way I look at it is, I'm about to show him what the next level's like. You know, these guys. There's people around the world that know me. You know, my big brother's best friend, his name Chris Gutierrez. He's top 15 in the world. I've been training with him since I was a little kid. You know, and guys like Euros. You know, people all around the country. You know, people at Fight Ready and stuff. They all know about me.
That's so Henry's gym.
Yeah.
You're going down and see Henry.
Tomorrow. I'm having dinner with him.
Oh, really? Tell myself what's up. What's up?
He asks about you all the time, actually.
Are you gonna?
I met him one time.
I'm just kidding.
Are you gonna bring him
I'm not gonna tell you
a booster seat? Ask him what he's there to say. Do you have to use a booster seat at his chairs?
What's it like? Is it different training a fighter for? I mean, it's PFL. It's the second largest organization in the U.S.
I can justify putting more time in, you know what I mean? Like I can justify it in my
finally giving me some attention.
yeah, you gotta earn that shit around me, you know? Well, bro, honestly, on a local circuit, Julian could fucking hit the bag and show up and beat most of their asses, you know what I mean?
I don't know. Here's my opinion, and you got mad at me, you said I was talking shit, but your last fight, I think there were some real close calls. I think it could have been some trouble. I think it could have been some trouble. There were some spinning back fists that could have been some real trouble for you.
In PFL.
And that spinning back fist he hit, he tried to hit me with his elbow and it scraped from my hand, and I laughed at it. The second one, I heard his coach say it. I saw it coming. The third one, I saw it coming a mile away, and I brushed it off and I laughed at him for it.
The problem is that this next guy, his coach is gonna be talking to him in Spanish. You don't speak Spanish.
I can speak Spanish. I mean, no, I don't. Yeah, you're right. I won't be able to understand.
I'll yell at you in Spanish to confuse him.
Yeah, you speak to him in Arabic.
Today, I was with my buddy Nate. We went to go get food, and we go to order tacos. And I'm like, oh, I'll order. And I go up and I ask the guy, I'm like, ¿habla español? He's like, sí, señor. Yeah. And then I'm like, so I try to order in
Dos
Spanish.
Tacos, por favor.
And then I was like, yo quiero tres, or cuatro tacos. He's like, I speak English. I was like, no English. He's like, he was laughing at me. I was pretending I was speaking.
So Ramsey and Dom are your coaches? Is there another coach in the corner?
Yeah, I have a few other coaches. I would probably say my main boxing coach is Sione.
How's it work? Is there in the corner? Is there a chief coach who gets to be the mouthpiece and gets to make all the calls? What do the other coaches do in a corner? Because you don't want them talking over you.
Honestly, I've had problems with that. Not to name any fighters, Darian. He always brings in his fucking friend who doesn't stop talking. I said, bro, if you want me to corner you, you can either have Julian or Dom and me. That's it. That's all you can have. Because they're going to yell things because you can't over talk someone.
Yeah.
It's got to be. And that's what the thing is that's why I like Dom. He's loud as fuck. And he'll just yell whatever I'm yelling. And that's why Dom's a really good corner guy. And he's very simple. But you get these guys that have 5 corners, and Sione, I know Sione really well. Sione's not I'm the box. He's like, I don't know MMA, but I know boxing.
Well, would you classify yourself as mainly a striker, Julian, not a jiu-jitsu guy?
Nah, I'd say I'm a wrestler.
Is that what you? I mean, I watched your last fight. You got taken down for the first time ever. You weren't happy about it.
I didn't really say that.
Didn't count. Doesn't count on the scorecard.
But
because it was off a head kick.
Our standing contention.
Didn't count on your record.
Our standing contention here, and I don't know if Ramsey feels differently, but is that jiu-jitsu's fake? It doesn't even really work. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, when you're coming to MMA, it's a lot harder to grab somebody that's backing up and pressing off of you. So, if that's your goal, a lot of guys don't know how to fight and handle that. So, yeah, a lot of guys can get beat, but when somebody who really knows how to fight, it makes the fight easy when they're just trying to grab you.
I don't know if your opinion's changed. It's always interesting to me. Ramsey's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. But what's your thoughts on jiu-jitsu?
Here's what's funny. The jiu-jitsu community, I always tell people this, when they cry, coming to my gym, I'm like, oh, don't worry, there's a Gracie Barrara right around the corner. You could go that. But to me, it is karate. I'm learning jiu-jitsu. I was out the other night getting food, and this dude comes up to me, and he's like, you're the owner of the pit. And I was like, wearing a sweater of the pit. I'm like, oh, yeah. And he's like, I was looking online and blah, blah, blah. Then he's like, but I decided to join blah, blah, blah jiu-jitsu gym. And I was like, and he's like, I know how you feel about jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, so you know, first off, you knew who I was. You know my name. Then you decided, and he goes, I'm not ready for that. You're not ready to fight. So then to me, when people say they're not ready to go to a real gym, I'm going to go to a fake karate gym and learn how to bump and grind with strangers. That's not, I mean, it might work. And to me, it's a multi-level marketing. And that's why, look, I'm wearing a rash guard out in public because if you talk like this, and I'm wearing my rash guard. In jiu-jitsu, it is the push and pull of one person and another person's dynamic. And the dynamic movement of this, do you know who I'm in?
No.
Do you know who I'm being?
No.
See, you guys
off
are
of Harry Potter or what?
Harry Potter?
That what's his name? GSP's coach.
John Danaher. He fucking wears a rash guard out in public with jeans everywhere he goes.
He does.
And people worship him in the jiu-jitsu community because he uses big words and Joe Rogan's, oh my God, he's like a Joe Rogan, like loves him. And anything that Joe Rogan says, all these goddamn alpha male. You're not an alpha male. Joe Rogan's your alpha, and you just follow whatever the fuck he says. So they're like, oh, John Danaher, he's so good at jiu-jitsu. And John Danaher's like, yes, I have these long pulls about you push and pull and blah, blah. You took a bunch of borderline autistic kids and taught them heel hooks when no one knew what heel hooks were. And then now it's changing back to taking someone's back. And they're teaching, like, jiu-jitsu is teaching tricks. It's not real martial arts because you can't recreate it over and over and over again in a situation. Like if I was going to fight Julian, I'm not going to be able to armbar him because he knows an armbar defense. So therefore, my trick doesn't work. I need to know how to wrestle. I need to know how to strike. And then if they don't know any of my tricks, I can do them. Or you're going to end up boot scooting across the cage like Kron Gracie, trying to get someone to sit in your guard.
Let me give a counterpoint to it. In defense of jiu-jitsu, just as a counterpoint, right? You could say the same thing about chess. You could say, as somebody goes and starts to do a certain move in chess, well, I know that move, so I counteract it, so then they have to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You could say that jiu-jitsu is a game, and it's a chess match.
But it's not self-defense.
So you're saying it's more of a game and not a martial art?
Yes, it's no longer self-defense. It is point fighting. Like literally, I would put my money against. And here's the truth: they like, oh, jiu-jitsu. Like, bro, you're a big dude in a street fight. If someone tried to pull guard on you, you would just grab them by their hair and just smash them on the fucking concrete until they weren't there anymore.
Well, couldn't you say that anything? I mean, MMA, jiu-jitsu, MMA, all these things, boxing, kickboxing, is basically just chess with dangerous consequences. Where
that's what fighting is.
So even boxing, you could make the same argument for boxing is that, well, he's setting up this counter and I can see it, so I'm going to defend against that counter. I'm seeing it coming.
And boxing, to me, is not a self-defense. I know plenty of women that have boxed and they're like, oh, I'm a boxer. I had this one woman come to one of my self-defense seminars and she was like, I train boxing all the time. If anyone came up and blah, blah, I'm like, you want to know reality? Have you ever punched somebody with a bare fist? She's like, no. And I'm like, you can punch me as hard as you want in my head and you're going to break your fucking hand. And my head's I'm not going to sleep. And I've been hit by the best women in the world, but the reality is they'll never be able to do that. And you know what I mean? And then even jiu-jitsu is only going to work at a certain high level. But if I have strength and I can hold you down, it's not going to work. So then if you want to learn how to really fight, you need to follow ninja martial arts. I break it down systematically. First and foremost is positions. What is the most important position do I need to be on? On my feet? What are my most important positional striking? And then from my back, I'm setting up my strikes, my attack, and my stand-up. My number one thing should be to stand up and escape the situation that I'm in. Escape, or sweep, or submit. Then if I can't do that, I stand up, sweep, and escape. So that should be the number one thing in my nice rash guard, looking fit.
But don't you feel?
Send me your money.
Do you feel that it's interesting to hear you say it all, right? It's because it's almost like you've become a self-loathing because you're.
I hate myself. You know that. You know
well,
that.
It's like you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You have the respect.
We talked
of all
about
these
this
people.
morning. You know, like I got too many responsibilities. I'm going to hell. Otherwise,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like Marab. We sat right next to Marab. He was almost unimpressed with us until you told him you're a black belt. He's like, oh, I'm only a brown belt. So then he starts deferring to you and doing all these things, right? But
I'm actually a 3rd degree black belt.
yeah, but it's Jake Shields, which gives him
No,
basically
not
free.
under Jake's, under John Hackelman, which is the pit system, which is actually really direct underneath the 4 Japanese guys that really created martial arts. And when the World War II they lost, they said you can no longer do martial arts. That's why you have karate, because they did dance form karate because they weren't legally allowed to do it. John Hackelman's lineage, Guden, his lineage, they escaped to Japan. So it's Japanese, and it was real fighting. So if
what
anything,
would you
I have stronger lineage than any jiu-jitsu. So you know when jiu-jitsu people go, what's your lineage? I'm like, what's your lineage? You learned fucking trickery from some small little Brazilian grandpa.
What's your what I'm trying to understand is because there's people who watches who, you know, the thing is that I was
and you should not be
hold on,
training
hold on.
at a
Let me
gym
say
unless
this, let me say
there's
this.
a black belt there
Here's my point.
that knows how to fight.
Is you were saying earlier, and then you're gonna make me because you interrupted me. I'm trying to think this damn thing that I was trying to say. My point that I'm trying to make is earlier we were talking about people. Oh, I know exactly what I want to say. Earlier we were talking about people at fights who kind of like are getting mad at you, right?
Yeah.
Right, but the whole point is that your lineage and your resume is so strong that instead of getting mad at you, they should be like, oh. He has this opinion about this. Let me ask him, why do you think that? Instead of getting mad, they should be, if they're true martial artists, they should want to learn from somebody who honestly knows what they're talking about. What would be your message truly about what true jiu-jitsu is and how the world has moved away from it? How schools have moved away from it?
First of all, we don't call it jiu-jitsu because I'm not Japanese and you're not Brazilian. Jiu-jitsu word needs to be X'd out of there, and they just need to call it grappling. And so for me, the first and foremost, what's the most important thing in grappling is staying on your feet, winning the takedowns, getting the takedowns, being on top, because in a real fight, that's the most important thing. Escaping the situation. That's the most important thing, being able to escape a situation. So to me, they are focused on such a small, minute thing, and they've built this whole game around it. And then we watch the UFC, and you're watching a fight, and you're like, there's not very much jiu-jitsu going on in there. Is there not? Like, there is, but it only happens when someone's hurt. There's very rare does someone just come across, grab a hold of someone, take them down, and pull them in their guard and throw up an armbar. That does not happen anymore because that was trickery. And we all fell for it because jiu-jitsu was hidden, and then Helio spread it, and then the Gracie brothers spread it, and now you have what are the 3, Henner, Hedon, and whatever, that are saying, oh, we're Gracies. They've never fought a day in their fucking life. And you know what? They have a Gracie challenge that they'll fight anybody, anytime, and blah. You know what they did when their fucking little brother mouthed off to me? And me and my little brother, they shut the fuck up at a wedding because they know I'd fucking stomp their face in because I don't do jiu-jitsu.
Would you say it's and this is where I want to get Julian back involved because Julian's obviously one of your top students, right?
Yeah.
Would you say it's a shortcoming of yours? This is a vulnerable moment, and I want to hear from Julian on his thoughts as the student. I see you do a lot of training on technique and doing all these different things, but I've never once, and obviously I don't go that much, so maybe you do, but I've never once seen you give a history lesson on jiu-jitsu or grappling or the differences here or why they should understand the philosophies of what those things mean. Have you ever thought about really sitting down and teaching them the history of those things?
Well,
of their own lineage? Because technically he's the same lineage because he's from
he is.
you.
And there's a 2-part to that. Yes, I do. I sprinkle it in my classes. And I do. When I teach jiu-jitsu, like even Julian's there, Julian will be doing a private on the side in the cage holding pads, and I'm teaching a jiu-jitsu class, but I always say, in a real fight, someone's hitting me. I didn't, Julian would be doing a private, hold on, let me watch this.
Yeah.
And, you know, and like, literally, he did it the other day with that kid. He like came out, he's like, let me see this real quick. But I'm like, in a real fight, we're doing this. But in sport jiu-jitsu, you do this. And honestly, my young teens, I used to make them only do jiu-jitsu. And then one of them got their asses kicked as he tried pulling guard by some kid that didn't fight. And I was like, all right, they need to learn how to really fight because real fighting is important. So the kids that come to my gym, we teach them martial arts. And then honestly, I don't belt people anymore unless they know how to fight. So some days I'll come up to my jiu-jitsu gym when we're close to belting and be like, all right, who wants to belt? Okay, you guys go throw on some gloves and try to punch them in the face, and they got to figure out. And there's some guys that have never taken one striking class, and they're like, "Oh fuck!" And they got to figure out how to tie someone up, take them down, and the other person's using gloves, so they're hitting them. So that's how you get a real belt. You're going to gyms that are being taught on a video. And then they go to competition. I had one girl at a competition, her first match, shoot a double leg on a girl that was at one of these gyms, one of these Gracie schools where they have a blue belt instructor. They don't make them do technical stand-ups and backdrops every day like how I make the boring shit. So the girl goes to post out, boom, blows out her elbow. And it's that simple, you know what I mean?
For you, Julian, being the student, I'm sure. I mean, you just signed with the PFL. I'm sure there's plenty of coaches out here that would love to snag you and have made their pitch, right?
And there's probably plenty of people. This is what's funny about the MMA world that talk shit on me.
Yeah, and
I'm sure, right?
And
Like,
trying to get in your ear and things.
Not to me.
Well,
Right.
I mean, you've heard it before, but now they know Julian will fuck them up. But
what has made, aside from just loyalty? Don't give me just loyalty,
So,
right? Tell me what's made you stick with Ramsey.
Well, just going off of the martial arts thing, you know, I'm an old school martial artist. I really am a martial artist. I respect all the martial arts, and I respect an instructor. You know, I respect my teachers when I walk onto a mat. You know, I try to look, I don't do as much, but, you know, I'm always bound when I go onto a mat. I respect my coaches and whoever's teaching in there. But I can see, you know, real fighting, because I've been around real fighting, and I don't know what it is with this sport. I just have such a common sense for it. But I came here for Ramsey. You know, when I was younger, the first time I saw somebody fight, like I saw a highlight, I saw Ramsey, like when I was like, oh, dude, that dude's pretty good, you know, from Salt Lake. And I was originally going to move down to Albuquerque, New Mexico, because I went down, I had a mentor take me out of the small town I was in, took me to St. George, and he wanted me to go down to New Mexico to Greg Jackson's where he was. My big brother called me and wanted me to move up here to Salt Lake with them for other reasons and my family and stuff, and then I did. And I was like, all right, the only way I'm coming to Salt Lake is if I come to work with Ramsey and stuff, you know, Court and all these guys, you know, that I seen on TV. So then it was just such a perfect thing, because when I went to the gym asking about Ramsey, he wasn't working at that gym at the time. You know, I met my boxing coach and everything. And then I had like a different team, and I was like, this is what I came here for, but, you know, I'm not going to make an excuse. I'm going to win regardless and work with what I have. But then one day I had this weird feeling to go to the open gym, open mat. And it was the last time he was ever in that gym, stepped foot in there. But I went in there. He got kicked out.
I was like, thought we weren't working there, but I was still going to go roll.
Yeah, he came to roll. Anyways, he saw me fight before, and I knew he recognized me a little bit, but I was just like trying to not freak out. And I purposely went and sat by his water bottle, and then he asked me to grapple with him. And then, you know, he asked to train me after that. He's like, who are you here with? And I think it was like a perfect thing. I'm like, I came to Salt Lake just to train. And then he's like, you should come train with me. And I Snapchatted all my friends. Nobody could believe it, you know. And then after that first day, you know, I'm just such a loyal person. You know, when I meet somebody that knows what they're doing, and that's just the thing in the fighting world, you know, there's not too many people who know how to fight. So when you meet somebody who really knows how to fight, you got to stick around them. You know, it doesn't mean I can't have other coaches and other looks. You know, if you stick with just one person, you're going to fight exactly like that one person. But, you know, you work with 5 different people, you're going to take a little bit from all those guys. And
we're gonna shift gears here just for a different segment. But one last thing I want to know. Now you're working with the PFL. What's been your experience so far working with the PFL? Why has it been a good experience for you?
Well, I don't even really believe it's happening yet. Haven't had no pictures or nothing. So yeah.
Sign a contract.
Sign a
though.
contract, though.
Signed
Yeah.
a contract. It looked cool and everything. Got a nice pic on Insta. Got a few hundred likes and stuff. But that's about it.
What's your Instagram?
It's KingJ_100K.
King J 100K. When's the fight?
June 21st. So we're 6 weeks out.
June 21st. And how's camp going so far? You came to dinner the other night and you were all bruised up. It means you've been training hard.
Yeah, nah, those were little scratches and stuff, but it wasn't nothing swollen. But
And how disappointed were you when they didn't have blueberry tea?
I've never seen somebody so mad about no blueberry tea. You almost fought the waitress. I'm just kidding.
She had a little attitude, but I didn't really like it. But
I think
She was like the
liked
sweetest
you,
person.
though.
She did like you.
She did
because
like
she was
you.
like,
Got a
"Oh, are
little
you a
crush.
fighter?" She was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Are you going
yeah.
out drinking later?"
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
asking about you.
And you're like, you don't got blueberry tea, you ain't getting.
Yeah,
She's
you're
a cute
getting-
little girl, bro, you know, but
yeah,
he's got focus, camp,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
Focus,
got
brother.
focus.
Focus, brother. Women will just distract you.
I got a little lady already, anyways. But
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hell
All right,
yeah.
all right. Hell yeah.
But
Okay.
anyways.
All right, well, let's jump into this segment. Okay, so we have got a new segment for the podcast. We are incredibly excited to be announcing a new sponsorship partner, Underdog Fantasy. Honestly, I've been using Underdog for a while now. I love to be able to get in my plays and my picks and things.
And what's kind of funny because it's actually what you and Deuce play the whole time when we go to jazz games.
Yeah, we're always like just on the points, higher or lower.
Honestly, I hope you guys just do it on the app so I don't have to fucking listen to you. Like it drives people around us crazy.
Dude, what's
So
actually,
much, bro. And you always have to sit close. That we've literally had the players be like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like you guys are distracted. Like
we have people around us like, who are you cheering
Yeah,
for?
yeah. So I'm actually
okay,
pumped.
score, miss, make, and so
Yeah.
we're cheering for both sides.
higher or lower, or they're gonna get 30 higher, and you're like, okay, they're gonna score higher. How many points? 2 points, 3 points higher, and I'm like, we're like, dude, shut up. I'm like eating because there's a nice steak dinner where we're sitting and candy. So I just chew M&Ms. Don't listen to them.
But honestly, what's crazy about Underdog, and then when I found these guys, is it was the only one that's actually allowed in Utah.
Yeah.
For putting in for going on projections, going higher or lower, and getting in your picks and your play.
Honestly, I hate not being able to do my picks online,
Dude,
because every week I
it's the
have
worst.
picks, and I want to be able to make my projections and stuff, and hopefully make a little bit of cash, but I can never do it. So this is kind of cool.
So it's been super exciting getting this partnership with Underdog Fantasy. What we're gonna do? We got some really cool guys that we can do. When you download the Underdog Fantasy Sports app, you can use code Coach and Casual, and they will match up to $250 to your first entry. $250 and allowed in Utah is unbelievable. That's promo code Coach and Casual. The app is Underdog Fantasy Sports, and the website is underdogfantasy.com. So honestly, being able to be partnered with these guys, they can do UFC as well, so they'll have the events coming up. It'll be in a week or two when that event's coming up.
We're gonna do a little segment with each week to pick the fights.
Segments and be able to pick higher or lower on
Yeah.
significant strikes, number of rounds.
like how long the fights are gonna go and stuff like that.
That's exciting. What we've got going, because it's got all sports.
Bro, NHL coming to Salt Lake. We'll be going to those.
Yeah,
We're
picking
going to
the names
those
there.
games.
So,
I love hockey. Do you?
We'll go. To be honest, dude, hockey. Everybody says it's amazing when you go. It's been less cool for me. It's when
Have you
you're
gone?
I'm into the Grizzlies. And I've been to the Kings down in L.A.
Oh, dude, really? All right. I don't like it on TV, but I love going.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go.
we'll have to line some. Okay, but let's put in some of our picks for today. It's going to be basketball, so I will be choosing those. Donovan Mitchell, whatever he's doing there, we're going lower because he screwed Utah.
Dude, come on,
yeah.
but he's a good
Yeah.
performer.
Yup.
Hey, I still have a lot of
traitor.
Donovan Mitchell jerseys, okay? We're still higher, dude. Don't you have a Mitchell jersey, don't you?
Yeah. But
I
he's
think
a
Okay,
traitor.
so what's the Mitchell one, and then we'll let Julian pick the last one. So Donovan Mitchell is 20 and a half. You're saying higher?
I'm saying higher.
Okay,
Honestly, I'm
and then the
going
last
higher
one
on
is
that.
Jalen Brown for tonight.
Oh, dude, Jalen Brown's gonna tear it up tonight.
What's the points?
24.
24 and a half. Julian, what's it going to be, higher or lower?
Higher.
Okay, boom. Guys, we are super excited for this partnership with Underdog Fantasy. Download the app, put in code Coach and Casual, and you will get a match up to $250 your first entry. Super excited to be with these guys, and it works in Utah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, honestly, Julian, I've been around you for quite some time. I feel like I'm a mentor to you myself.
Just kidding. I feel like a big brother, uncle.
I feel like I should be in your corner personally.
Dude, I think that'd be fun. And honestly, it might be good to keep him distracted, you know?
Yeah.
You just be.
I'll just distract the other. Did you hear that? You see that one fighter that his opponent's coach was confusing him?
Yeah. Dude, that was.
Sugar Sean.
Yeah, Sugar Sean.
Yeah, he had to tell him to quit talking to him.
Yeah, you know, what's your thoughts on that?
What?
Like, because it did work. Sugar Sean's coach said, gotta go, Aldo, and he jumped into that hook. You know, like.
I listened so well that I would be able to tell. I'd start laughing at it. When I laugh and I start talking at it, I get even more focused. So it probably would help me, honestly.
That's where I feel like if a coach was talking shit to me. Yeah. One time, though, I did have one coach that was like, got under my skin. It was Duke Rufus, and I was beating the shit out of Danny Downs, and that's his name.
Danny Downs syndrome.
Yeah, and I'm beating the fuck out of him, and the whole time Duke Rufus is just like, he's getting tired. It's time to go. He's not ready, and I'm like, seriously, bro, shut the fuck up. It was a 30-25 decision, but then me and him got drinks one night, and we were talking about it. But all night long, Duke Rufus is a talker, and I was like, oh, that's just you. Like, it wasn't anything personal.
Or like when Tank was fighting Rolly, he's like, you can outbox Tank. And he's like, shut your ass up.
Yeah. Like,
that's what I would be like.
Yeah, shut your ass up. Okay, that's what I was like. I was like, shut up, dude. Honestly, I was like, you're kind of getting annoying. That's like, the problem.
Shut up, dude.
Turn your voice down. I'm trying to have a fight.
Okay, so do you guys want to give, just as we're signing up, do you want to give your exact game plan for your opponent to hear on the mic, or... I'm just kidding.
I'll tell him. The exact game plan. Fuck out, bitch. You going to sleep night in Salt Lake City, Head Kick City.
PFL, Head Kick City. Yeah. PFL.
Let's just put it this way. He's got all the same traits that I do, but I just got him all better. Every single one. Everything he's got. His grappling, his striking, his cardio. They see him as a cardio machine. They never seen my cardio before. And I know how to break people's cardio down is the thing. I've been, you know, like more than 40 fights for sure, you know, and like I said, I've grappled, and the way I grapple and I wrestle, you know, is the same way. You know, I break people down and I catch them at the end. That's kind of how he is, but I'm not going to give too much away, but it's just not going to be the same.
He's like a burnt version of, he's like, he doesn't have the same explosive power. Like Julian's got the cardio, but he can explode.
Yeah, he's strong. He's got a heart, you know. He's just like me. He's Mexican, but we just, I just showed the difference that night.
Send him a message.
Send him, hey, train hard, buddy. Stay healthy. I need you to get in there for me.
Don't pull out, pussy.
Nah, this dude ain't going to pull out. He's tough.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for tuning into the Coach and the Casual. Make sure to tune in for June 21st PFL. Julian Ruiz, he's doing his debut. Let's go. Thanks for tuning into the Coach and the Casual. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and share it with your friends. Thanks again.